talkradio.com. Click your live stream tab or watch us live on your smart TV on YouTube under WCEG Network. I'm Wardell Richardson, your show host on WcegWood The Hollywood of the South for the next hour. We're the worldwide empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio. That's WCEG_talk_radio and WCEG Network. That's WCEG Network. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guests and not those of WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. I am Wardell Richardson, actor, producer, director, writer, host of WcegWood Hollywood of the South, and I'm happy to be here again for another incredible interview. And before I bring my guests on, I just want to say, people, we're still in the epidemic. so please, be aware. I notice more and more people don't wear their masks. That people are taking the medicine and everything that they're giving out. And I just want to say that it does not cure you. It does not stop you from getting the virus. It helps you cope with the virus. So please be aware of that. I've been to several people, talk to people, they're like, oh, I can't get it now because I haven't taken the vaccine. And I'm just like, well, that doesn't stop you from getting it. It just helps you cope with it. And people act surprised when I say that, but that's the truth. So be aware that, you still can get the virus. Just because you take the vaccine does not mean you cannot get sick. I'm just saying. You heard it directly from me. Secondly, if you haven't yet, please go support your boy. I got movies all on Amazon Prime. The 30-Day Rule is the hottest one. Everybody keep calling me about it. It's a romantic comedy. I'm one of the stars of it, and I produced it. So please check that out. As well as I got Addiction by Subtraction, which is a psychological film that's on there. Greed, which is an action film. Flesh, which is an action film. And GPS, which is a horror film. I'm not sure if that's still on there or not, but it was on there. So please go check me out. Support your boy. I'm doing a lot of great things. Getting ready to launch my film company, Rain Dance Film, this year. Getting ready to produce, direct, and star in my first TV series. So I'm happy about that. There's a lot of great things going on right now. I'm getting a lot of phone calls. It looks like things are starting to go back into motion from before COVID hit. I'm very excited about it. And I look forward to a lot of great things that's coming up this year. So you got to be watching out for your boy. Rain Dance Film coming soon. Be on the lookout. I'm going to start promoting it. I've been promoting it. I'll get ready to put out a lot of information about it. So please, please, please check that out. Also, the website is coming, raindancefilm.com. Now, I did an interview not too long ago. And I can't wait for it to come out because it was an awesome interview with an awesome woman. And I've been wanting to get her on my show, and she is now coming on my show today. And she is the lovely Kiana Monroe. Kiana.
Hey.
Hey. How are you?
All is well. All things considered, pandemic-wise, I'm healthy, I'm sane, I'm sound. That means I'm blessed.
And that's the way you got to be, right? Because I'm saying we're slowly getting out of this whole situation.
Yeah,
it's getting better, but people still need to be aware that it's still something going on out here. So
But okay, we can't wait for summer. They're gonna summer this summer like they ain't summer before.
And traveling is insane right now. Airports, tickets be sold out. If you don't get your ticket now, you're not gonna catch a flight. Everybody's trying to get out of here. So be aware of that, people. So Kiana,
Yeah.
I've been wanting to bring you on here. Before we get too deep, because you have a lot going on, and before we get too deep in everything you got going on, give people a little bit about who you are And if you're not from, because you're in LA, I want people to know you are in LA right now. So if you're not from LA, where did you move from?
Actually, I am a Los Angeles native. I'm a true blue Angelino. I've been here.
That's what's up.
He's in South Central, West Side. No, I'm joking. But seriously, like seriously, I'm from South Central LA. I grew up here. From here, I went on to Atlanta because I went to Spelman, and I came back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came back and got my master's at USC, and I've just been put here.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
And so you went and got your master's in, what you get your master's in again?
From USC, from broadcast journalism. So
broadcast journalism.
I was a sports journalist at ESPN for a while. So
nice.
I'm there, and then working a bit at HBO, and then NBC Universal over the E Network and Esquire Network as a new media programming director, before I decided to jump headfirst into my nonprofit with the girls.
Yes, and you're doing a lot with that. Before we get into that, so give a little bit about, because you move, you come to Atlanta, go to Spelman, go back to LA, go to USC, and after you go to USC, you work several jobs. What you decided that you wanted to give back, I'm assuming, which is why you got into working with girls.
Correct. So, I'm a mommy. My son will be 19 years old this year. Knocking on the 40 door.
You do not look like you got a 19-year-old.
And he's 6'1". He's 6'1". Yeah, I'm 5'7". I'm not a mini bike, but 5'7" is with no heels is pretty. I like to say I'm pretty tall, a little bit. And my son is even taller than me, and so yeah, he's got the deep voice and everything. So yeah, I'm knocking on 40. Give me a couple months. And being very active and participating in activities and being very present in his life, PTA meetings, all that jazz. I realized, I think it was around middle school, right? When he graduated elementary school and went into the 6th grade. I saw a lot of the kids, but I saw a lot of the younger kids, and I started to see the cliques and the groups. And then I saw some of the girls that were trying to figure out, who they'd fit in with and what group they should be involved in. And so you see all of this stuff. And I was just like, wow, I did a lot of that in middle school as well. Right. So that was one thing I paid attention to. I was like, I hope these little girls know, who they are and are confident in themselves and don't try to conform to what the other girls would want them to be, to fit in and to be accepted, because that's a really big thing, especially with social media when it comes to kids. And I decided to volunteer one day. It was a career day for parents with the kids. So I came up there, and the dean said, "Ken, I want you to talk to a group of girls specifically." Right? Okay, I can do that. Went in there, talked to them about what I do and, television and network and all this stuff. And they were so excited. And one of them said, "When I grow up, I want to look like you. You're so pretty. I want to look like you when I grow up. And I want to be like you when I grow up." And I said, that is the absolutely just heartwarming compliment. But baby, I want you to grow up to look like you. And I want you to grow up to be the best version of yourself.
Right.
And if I was able to get where I am, you can too. And I noticed how a lot of the girls were talking a bit negative about themselves. Yeah, but I don't look like that. And I don't have this. And I may not go to this college. And it was consistent.
Where do you think that came from?
It either comes from the environment in which they play, or which their home life, right? Because sometimes you can have a good home life, but if the friends that you're hanging out with, if that circle and who you go to the sandbox with, I call it, if they're negative, then you're picking up things from there. So it really depends. And I had to let them know, actually, Miss Kiana's from South Central LA. I was in a gang, and started to kind of talk to them about getting bullied and all of the stuff that I had to go through and endure. Drug infested neighborhood, walking to school, walking back, you know, all that stuff. And they're like, what? Like the look on their face was like, what? And I had to say, yeah, I had to want it for me. I said, you have to want it for you. And I said, I know sometimes if you're not exposed to greatness all the time, it may not seem like it's attainable or it's out of your reach, but it's not, you know? Right. And when I left, like they were so happy and to see the little, you know, glimmer and just hope. I was just like, aw. So then when I went back to work, I was like, this don't feel the same. I don't feel like I'm making a big difference when I'm doing this. Versus when I was at the school, I felt like that little bit of time made a huge difference, right?
You made it,
yeah. And so when I dropped my son off at school the next day, the dean wanted to talk to me, right? And I said, sure, let me park, let me go talk to him, see what he say. I'm like, oh my, look what these kids say about me. But just the overwhelming response of how the young girls felt at that time and what they said, you know, and he was like, can you come back? Is there any way that you can come back? And I said, well, let me think about it. Give me some time. Let me think about it.
Okay.
I had some time, and on the way back to my car, I had a couple of the girls run up to me and hug me. This was like pre-COVID, right? And they were like, hi, Miss Kiana, or hi, Christian's mom. I was knowing that too, you know. Hi, Christian's mom. Are you coming back? Are you doing such and such day? Are you going to come after school? I'm just like, wow.
Now, what were the ages of these kids at this time? Middle school?
6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
6th, 7th, 8th grade, okay.
Grade, right? And to me, at that age, they are the most impressionable.
Yes.
They are very sponge-like. And that is where they go from one teacher all day, every day. It's something that they're used to doing from kindergarten to 7 teachers, from their body changing, their environment changing, their boys are changing, their interests, you know, it's changing. The demand is changing. You have, you know, 7 classes to go to. So that's 7 levels of homework when they're not used to all of that. And so it's easy to kind of get sucked into the trap of bullying and peer pressure and trying to fit in and learning about who you are, learning about the type of friendships. And what I say is make sure that you pick your friends. Don't allow your friends to pick you. In order to do that, you have to be confident in who you are and know who you are, have some values. You have to be able to say, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And that's it.
And, you know, also, I think as little girls, they have a need to be wanted or feel like they just need attention, or because, you know, I have a little girl and I promise you she needs attention all the time. And so, and I realized that, you know, young girls are, you know, they want the attention, but the attention they get can also be a negative type of attention, and it makes them feel the way that they feel. So when you were saying that they, you know, were talking negative about themselves or had negative things to say, I mean, that really touched me, because they're getting that from somewhere. Somebody's not pumping enough positive information into them for them to feel like, you know, they can succeed and that they can be, you know, they can be successful. You know what I mean? Because like you just coming in and saying what you said, you know, like I was in a game too, you know, which we gonna talk about that, because how in the world did you get in the game? But I think what you said to them, you know, they can relate to it, and they just like, what? Like, you come in here, you're this beautiful woman, and you know, you just positive and have all this insight and everything, and you was in a game?
Yep. Don't talk to me no kind of way. You hear me? You hear me? No, I'm joking. Okay. But no, and there's, you know, one thing I noticed is there's layers of girls, right? You have the ones that are talking negatively about themselves, and then you have the high performance girls who still don't feel like they fit in, right? Because for me, I was in a gang, but I was a straight A student. It wasn't that I wasn't a smart kid. I was an extremely smart kid, right? But I didn't really feel like I fit in. So I was getting bullied pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay.
And you have the smart girls that are considered nerdy, so they don't know really where to fit in. And you have the pretty girls who, and not to say pretty like they're not all pretty, but there's just like, when I say pretty, it's like a little clicky click. They have the latest this and the most fashionable this and the bag and blah, blah. It's a little mean girls clique that I like to call. And I saw some of those too. And I'm like, you guys need to be nicer. And they have low self-esteem too, believe it or not. They just project.
Most of them do. Most of them do. Most of the mean girls do.
Right. And so it's really just understanding who you are and giving them a balance of confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth, and not looking outside of themselves to have that, to be validated. Like, you are enough, you are smart enough, you pick your circle of friends, you find out, what club you want to be a part of and what group you want to be a part of for you. You don't need to conform and mold and do things that make you uncomfortable just so you can hang around a certain group of people. You find your people. But in order to do that, you have to know, you have to like you and be confident in who you are, right? And understand friendships versus cliques and the bullying and this. Now they have cyberbullying and things like that. I've had plenty of girls to come into my classroom that were cutters, right? Emotional cutters. Were suicidal, and sometimes their parents didn't even know, right? But creating a safe space on campus with a group of girls where they are all kind of opening up and everyone's being transparent and vulnerable. Even Miss Kiana's being transparent and vulnerable, right? It allows them to feel like, oh, well, me too. Oh, well, this happened to me too. Or I experienced that too. You know what I mean? They can find that there's more commonalities than differences. Right. And there's no need to be jealous and kind of cruel to others, because we're all going through a little bit of something. We all bleed every month. So we start that once, right?
Right.
And once they figure that out and they build up the self-esteem, what the schools have found out is focusing on their self-esteem and their confidence building and their worth. It shows in their academic success.
Right. And that's important, because I think kids, especially at that age that you were talking to them in, like you said, they're very impressionable. And they're like sponges. Anything that they see and do, especially when it comes to TV and rap artists and, all that lifestyle, all that, it impacts kids at that age. And so as parents, we need to be aware of what we're feeding our children. Do you agree with that? Like, what we're feeding them, what we're showing them, how we talk to them, all that should be monitored from the parent. And I think a lot of parents don't take the time to do that. They don't take the time to really sit and talk to their kids. They don't take the time to let them know what's right and what's wrong as it occurs. They wait till they do it and then they attack them and say, you can't do that. That's wrong, when they should be constantly feeding those things into them. And that, to me, that's been effective, because like I said, I have a daughter, she's 4. I can sit here and tell her right now a list of things that not to do, and she'll go down the list. I can't do this, I can't do this, Daddy. And I say, why you can't do that? She said, because it's wrong and I get in trouble. So she already knows, and it's embedded in her head. And I think when you're dealing with these kids and that bullying, I think the whole cyberbullying and the whole internet as a whole is so impactful that we have to monitor what our children are doing on the computer. I think we give them too much freedom at times. And I think
too much shelter.
And too much shelter. Yeah. And so you have to balance that. You have to know how to balance that. You have to get them away from the computer. You need to get them out. You need to talk more. You need to communicate with your kids. You need to have your kids, you need to be a vessel that they can come and talk to you about anything that's going on. And sometimes it's hard. And I have a friend of mine who would sit down and he said he had two girls. And he said, man, it's so hard to sit down and talk with them because as they got older, they would talk to him about the boys that would come talk to them and stuff. And he can't be like, you can't talk to them, this, that, and the other. Like he want to be open so that they can come to him, and talk to him about that stuff. So he said, man, that was the most challenging part of taking care of a little girl. That is the most challenging, because he said so many times I wanted to just say, leave that little joker alone, but he said I couldn't say that. I couldn't be angry. I couldn't be mad, because then they wouldn't want to talk to me anymore, about those things. And so I think as parents, we have to learn to be open, and we have to learn to listen, even if it's the hardest thing to listen to. We have to listen to it,
I think what else is really important is, well, for me, I used to give my son situational strategies, and say, well, what would you do in this situation? Let's talk about that. What do you think the right thing would be to do? And give him scenarios that have not come up yet, but I know will come up one day, or hopefully not, but it's already been discussed. And I said, as a parent, I may not like all your choices, but I love you always. And every problem has a solution to it, but we cannot fix the problem, and I can't offer you the solution that suits your needs if you're not honest and if you're not forthcoming. And so if you keep it from me, I can't help you. I can't promise you I'm going to like everything. I'm your mother. I may not ever like everything that you do. Right. I am here for you and I will never leave you. So that was that. And he's just like, I'm going to tell her she might be displeased, she may be mad, you know what I mean? I might even get on punishment. However, the problem will be fixed, right? So it's just like, all right, let me face the consequences and not run from my responsibility, and be accountable for whatever I did, whether it is right or wrong, and just accept whatever consequence comes with that. But my mother is always there. And then surrounding children with a village, right? Because it takes a village. You can't do everything on your own. And if your child can't get to you, who else do they have? Who else is a part of their lifeline that they trust and share similar values as, you try to instill in them as children. So that's a really big thing. So that's what I decided to do. I felt like that was so valuable and so important that I decided to leave, television in a whole. That's from like doing any modeling, any print work, any commercials, whatever, working behind the scenes, completely put it to the side and go full in to doing this. And it wasn't until I started to get a lot of my parents who would want to sit into my workshops with my girls and just say, wow, I didn't even think about healthy boundaries like that, and friends and friendships and cliques and things like that. And I don't do mirror work, but I need to start doing my mirror work. My daughter is telling me about doing mirror work. Do you have any classes that you do for adults? So I decided to take a poll. I went on LinkedIn. I did a little poll and I said, how many of you guys hear me do all these things for young people in middle school and high school, and even like some college students? Like 18, 19. Do you want me to do some stuff like that for adults, right? Because I'm already, I got certified in cognitive behavioral health and also neurolinguistic programming, right? That way I wanted to be not just experienced via life, but certified in knowing clinically what it is that I'm talking about when having these conversations with these young girls, right? So I figured, let me see if the adults would want me to kind of go in and talk to them about similar things, because they keep sitting in my workshops and you can't sit in there. You can't sit in there with them. And I want to be able to talk to adults in a language that's adult like, right? All kind of shot through the roof. So I decided to do the Life Matters project, right? Life meaning loving yourself first, because loving yourself first is what I teach the girls, right? Self-validation, self-worth. So working with the adults, really what I find myself doing is also working with children still, but their inner child, right? and getting the adults to kind of go back and figure out where their inner child is showing up to say, hey, I need some healing here. Right. And I don't love myself as much as I should in this area. And it's coming out in a form of, people pleasing. It's coming out in a form of criticism and judgment in a harsh, negative way. Right. I have to unlearn behavioral habits from conditioned programming, which is what happened when you were young. Right.
Right.
Your parents and your grandparents were conditioned to learn a certain way and behave a certain way, and it's a cycle and it's a pattern. But here you are in your adult life practicing those same behavioral habits for a life that you're trying to build on your own that is absolutely nothing like your great grandparents, right?
Right.
And dealing with some brokenness that you have decided to suppress, because that's what depression is. You are suppressing your emotions and your voice, and you're kind of sinking into yourself, and you're not really dealing with it. You're overspending, you're managing money, you're trying to, live upon your means and keep up with the Joneses, or looking for whatever it is that's missing in a relationship, or even sometimes your friendships, looking for your identity in your friendships, not knowing who you are and liking you for who you are. Really can take a toll on you. And I highly recommend people getting down, and don't say, I went down in the valley and I got out. Get down in the valley and sit there for a little bit and learn something.
Right. What has been your biggest challenge in dealing with these girls?
The young girls or the adult women with their inner child?
Let's start with the adult women with the inner child.
A lot of them have unhealed trauma that they have experienced, whether it's physical abuse or verbal, some form of trauma, not being heard, not being listened to, not being believed, not being supported. A lot of people say, well, I'm trying to get through like the general curses that I think is going on in my family. I want to deal with that, or just not having the encouragement, the love, and the support that they believe, and not forgiving, right? Sometimes we hold so many grudges on what our parents didn't do, instead of just acknowledging what they have done, release them with love and forgiveness, and just say they did the best they could with the knowledge they had for the time that they had. And I am now my own responsibility, and kind of let go of holding them accountable to any wrongdoing, and now hold yourself accountable for the healing that has to happen, because now you're in your life and you have to figure out how you want to spend that. And that's usually where we start. What are some habits that you have? I call them, I have these thing called life jars, loving yourself first jars. So you have your desired outcome. What kind of lifestyle, loving yourself first style, do you want to have? What does that look like? Is that healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, healthy spending habits, healthy eating habits? Like, this is a desired lifestyle, right? And what is your current lifestyle? How do you treat yourself now, right? It's a lifestyle. Again, LYF versus the other way. Your current lifestyle is, I'm not going to the doctor like I should. I'm not giving myself enough rest. I'm operating on burnout all the time. I'm saying yes when I mean to say no. I'm not honoring myself and my values. I haven't even taken the time to set my boundaries so that I can express to others, these are my non-negotiables. I will not allow you to treat me in that way. Right? That's your current lifestyle. And then you figure out, what are the steps that I need to take in my healing journey, on my self-love journey, to get to my desired lifestyle. That's usually what they use the journal for.
Okay. And you have been through some things yourself in your past and have gotten through them. How can you explain a little bit of what you went through and how you were able to get past your situation?
Yeah, I mean, and it's really why I'm so
passionate about what you do.
Passionate about what I do. And it also, it brings a level of relatability, especially a lot of times in my workshops or lectures or when I do speaking engagements, I bring myself and my humanness to whatever audience I'm speaking to, right?
Right.
I have been sexually abused. I've experienced incest. I think I've shared with you, I'm a child trafficking survivor. So being really smart, but trying to not saying no to being bullied, right? And going with the flow, doing what the other girls do, and kind of getting caught up, getting lured into something because you're trying to get along to get along, right? That took a lot of healing, right? Forgiving my parents. My parents had me very young. My mom was 13, my dad was 17. And so I had to realize, I had some children raising me, and I have to work on what I want my life to look like. What does a healed life look like for me? Who am I and who am I not? Who am I showing up in the world as? Do I like her? Is that person actually myself? Or when I get home, do I fall apart because I feel like now no one knows the real me? And I had to take the time to learn the real me, and actually had to do that by getting to know God more. What does our relationship look like? Why do you love me unconditionally? What is it that what do you see? Why do you feel like I'm worth dying for? If God feels like I'm worth dying for, does it matter how I show up to other people? If it's not my authentic self? You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't think people look at it that way. I don't think people compare, like, if God can love me this way, why is it important? Like you just said, why is it so important for me to be this way or to be seen this way by these people if God can see me for this way? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's deep. I think that's something that people need to think about more, because I don't think people think on that rationale at all.
Yeah. And I had to build a relationship with myself. I say all the time, I can't be a good friend. I can't be a good wife. I can't be a good anything if I'm not good to me. I need to build the relationship with myself and learn to love me and like me. That means that I have to give myself grace and compassion for any mistakes that I have made. Don't talk negatively about myself. Don't speak negatively over my life, because that will manifest whether it happens right away or later. If I repeat those types of affirmations, negative affirmations over my life, it will come to pass. You know what I mean? And so getting down in that valley and staying there, sometimes people think that the self-love journey is this, a beautiful awakening. And although it is beautiful, it can be very ugly and hurtful when you start thinking, wow, I'm really kind of jacking myself up. And I can't believe I would think that way about me or say that about me. And I always tailor into my inner child and look at like baby pictures of myself when I was younger and just say, she deserves better. And I carry her next to the Holy Spirit every day. And I have to do right for her all the time. And she deserves better.
That's good. That's real good. And so so now you counsel, and because it's something that you have and I want you to explain this. You are a self-worth coach. And you're the only person I've ever heard use that.
Really?
So only person. So explain to me and everyone else what a self-worth coach is and does.
I mean, it pretty much is what I've said, teaching people the value in loving themselves and loving themselves first, unlearning behavioral patterns due to conditioned programming, which strips away at your worth and makes you feel that there's a reason why you are undeserving of all the blessings and the abundant life that Jesus died for you. Right? And that can come in multiple layers and multiple forms. It's about how you think and you speak about yourself. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Who are you showing up as? You know, are you going to go for the promotion, or are you going to settle? Are you going to use your voice? Are you going to say no? There's a lot of layers when it comes to that, and different ways in approaching it. It really is a mindset, and it requires a lot of self-discovery, self-assessing, awareness, and change. And I tell people all the time that, you know, you have to be compassionate when it comes to change. And you don't do better until you know better. And and you have to be okay that you made mistakes along the way, as long as you're growing and making healthy change.
Yes.
And people don't, like I said, they don't necessarily recognize that. But then when they're working with me and they see how they handle and approach relationships, or their career choices, or their family members, or you know, their friends and their circle of friends, what they tolerate, what they allow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a lot of that kind of, the imposter syndrome is another big thing of not understanding your worth and value, thinking that you don't deserve to be, thinking that you don't deserve to be in the room that you're in.
Now I haven't heard that either, the imposter syndrome. So now you are also an author.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about your book and how you came up with the idea to write a book?
So I started with children's books, right?
Okay.
And I teach in the curriculum that I teach for the Pretty to Me Foundation. I teach a lot about emotional intelligence, character building skills, such as empathy, healthy communication, mindfulness, all of those things, then some. But I wasn't doing it for little bitty kids. I had a friend of mine who was a principal of an elementary school, and he was just like, I have some kindergartners and first graders and second graders who would love for you to come down here and do something like that with them. And at that time, I didn't work with kids that young, but I have a hard time of just kind of denying kids the opportunity to grow and learn and pour seeds, because you never know. I mean, at this age, this day and age, kids are very mature very early.
Yeah,
so I said, how about I create these character building skills and these principles and morale and values in a children's book, right? So I have 3 children's books that come with downloadable worksheets, and that's really good for reading and comprehension skills. But each one of them talks a little bit about gratitude and communication and being kind. One is called Let Your Love Be Contagious, and it talks about unconditional love and how everyone is deserving of that, no matter the color of their skin, no matter where they live. That's a big thing, right? Then I have another one that's dedicated to my child, and it's called Mom's Recharging Her Batteries. That's for a lot of mothers, right? So I need a minute, please. You know, and I wrote that so that kids can understand that, you know, sometimes quiet time and downtime is good for all.
Yeah.
And to be grateful for the time that you get with your mommy, and then also be grateful for the time that mommy gives to herself, and look at that as a good thing, and try to implement that for yourself. Because my son believes in quiet time for himself, and I raised him to have gratitude for quality time with himself, because he would watch me give myself quality time. And so he understands that it's important to have some downtime and to take the day off when you come home. That's what's in that book, right?
Okay.
And you have the other one is called Different But the Same, and that has actually been picked up. I can't give too many details, but that has actually been picked up by a major network to be an animated series. It'll be an animated series. I'm going down.
Nice.
I'm still pinching myself. Like, I can't even believe that's real. And we're currently working on all of the episodes. So definitely stay tuned as I executive produce and write that. And I'm really happy and excited for that. That is kids of all different color, all different ethnic backgrounds, right? And they all live in a little town called on Diversity Lane. right? And it teaches kids that even though the kids have different families and they have different pets, they all go to the same school. They're all loved, even though their love comes from a big family or a small family or a single parent home or adopted kids. It's all the same. We're different, but we're the same. We still need to learn. We still play. We still eat. We still have fun. And the goal is to teach children that even though you're different, you can still live harmoniously with one another without jealousy, without, being envious or feeling like someone is better than you or someone's differences makes them better or less than. Because a lot of that negativity and hate, that's taught. So how about I make a difference and start with young children, and teach them something else?
Teach them love and yeah. So I mean, that's incredible because we definitely need stuff like that on TV, especially those iPads. Now, look, my daughter is 4 and she's always on the iPad and looking at
some audio books and some digital books.
Yeah. So listen. So check this out. So just recently, my daughter said a bad word. I know I don't cuss around, and nobody around me cuss around her, and not even on her mom's side. So I'm trying to figure out where she getting this word from, because she dropped the F bomb, So I'm just like,
That's heavy. She got some heavy cussing.
Right. And so I'm like, where is she getting this from? And, I talked to my mother because, I go to work, and when I'm at work, she watches my daughter for me. And my daughter's always on the iPad. And she said, you know what? I know exactly where she got that from. I said, what? She said, those cartoons on the iPad. I said, you kidding me? She said, Wardell, I kid you not. She said, it was a regular old cartoon. I thought it was, I'm sitting there with her and I'm looking. Then all of a sudden they just start cursing. I said, are you serious? Wow. And she said, yeah. She said, I immediately told her to turn it off. But, kids are like sponges. Like she already picked it up. You know what I'm saying? So, and what's funny is that she used it at the right time. Like, I'm sitting here to myself trying to figure out how she know how to use this word at the time she use it, So I really think that something like what you're putting out or what you're gonna produce should be all over, the internet, iPad, cell phones, movies, everywhere, because kids love to go through YouTube and she know how to work that iPad better than I do. Stuff she done on there. I'm like, how did you do that? And she's 4.
Kids are smart. And they know everything. I tell my parents, one of the things that one of my good friends said, she's just like, her son is 4, right?
Right.
And especially with the pandemic going on, she's just like, I can't sit and necessarily read the books because she has all the books, but she can't read them all at that time. So what I did was I created audio book versions. And so I said, just put some headphones on, give him the physical book, and he'll listen to me read it. And it's animated. So until the cartoon actually comes out, there is something that you can have for the kids. That's on nice.org, right? And they can go there. I will send it. And so it's got music. It's really fun. It's like, the old school books where you would listen to the audio book and turn the page and follow along. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And that way you're still going through the book, but they're listening to someone else read it to them. My version of reading Rainbow.
So one of the things I wanted to also talk about, because, I was on your show not too long ago, and we talked a lot about relationships. Actually the show is about relationship, and I can't wait for that to come out, by the way. I'm just looking forward to that coming out.
See you soon.
Okay. So I wanted to get into that just a little bit because you when we talk, the way you explain things, you explain it in a way that, a lot of people don't quite hear it, and I think you just kind of absorbed it and figured out a way to, exert that back out into the atmosphere so that people can understand how to navigate, through life, and which is why you do what you do, which is why you are a self-worth coach and, you do counseling. So do you think when people, and I want to say that I'm trying to make sure I say this in the right way. Do you think love is underrated? And when I say that, people say I love you and don't really love you, and they say it for purpose to receive something, to gain something, or yeah, and so when you really do feel it and mean it, sometimes people can't receive it because of how they have internalized it. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. I think that when it comes to love, first of all, I believe that you cannot give to someone what you do not have, right, for yourself,
Right.
right? And what loving you would look like, my version of loving you, you'd be able to see that very easy because you'd be able to watch how I love me and how I treat me, right?
Right.
I think emotionally, love is good, but I think it's really important if a lot of people will say I love you, but they don't see you.
Right.
They look at you. And I always say it's important for me to be seen, not just looked at, right? Don't just desire me, the outer me, actually see me. And in order to see me, you have to be able to know me and understand me. And sometimes that takes time. Sometimes that takes longer than saying the word I love you to some people, right? It takes them longer to understand who they're in a relationship with and get to know who they're in the relationship with, because it takes quite a bit of time for people to be transparent completely and forthcoming completely. A lot of people have a hard time with being open and vulnerable and sharing, their insecurities. So usually when you first meet someone, you get their representative, right? You get who they want you to see. And they may spoon feed you little bit by little bit to see how much, you can take before they scare you off. But you're not going to get it right away. So if I do believe that you can love someone, but I think that love has layers to it. You know what I mean? I can love you and be as an extension of God's heart, as an extension of the body of Christ, as an extension of another human being in our humanity, right? But in order for me to be in depth in love with you, I need to be able to see you. I need to be able to understand you, all of you, the layers of you. I need to be able and have the willingness to spend eternity, and especially when you get married. I want to be able to spend the rest of my life learning you unconditionally and spending my time consistently trying to understand you and show you yourself when you're not seeing yourself, right? That takes time. That takes time, that takes consistency, that takes transparency, vulnerability. It takes communication and effective communication, not just talking at someone, having a conversation where you listen to hear and you hear to understand. You're not listening to respond and get your point across. It's also not listening to someone so that you can give them your opinion and expect them to take your opinion as a fact. That a lot of people do that too. They wait, they offer their opinion, and they expect the person that they're giving their opinion to take it on as fact. And that's not always the case, right?
Yeah, I find it hard for people to just, if I just say, for instance, we having a discussion and something happened and we on opposite pages. And I happen to, and when it's my turn to talk and I'm trying to say something to you, and the first thing you hear that you don't like, you cut me off, I never get to finish. That happens more than anything that I have ever experienced. because for whatever reason, people don't like to hear when they have done something wrong or feel like they've done something wrong. You know, I don't know what that is. You know, I don't know why they feel like they can't do wrong or shit or something. But, you know, if somebody's telling you, you know, you've done something wrong, you should hear that. Even if you don't feel like you did anything wrong, you know, if they feel some kind of way, that's their feeling, you know, and
Yeah.
and it is what it is.
I always tell people, the other person's, if you really listen and hear, people just want to be understood. People want to be heard.
Right.
They want to be understood. Even if their feelings are inaccurate, it's only inaccurate to you because you had no ill intent. And when you really love someone, and I say this all the time, and I'll say this from a relationship that I had, and I had a conversation with him, and I said, you know, we need to have a conversation because you're doing things that are hurtful. And I don't want to believe, because you love me, that you're intentionally trying to hurt and harm me, right? And hurt my feelings.
Right.
But you are, and my feelings are valid. But if that's not your intent, what is your intent? Because there's another way to get your message across that may not be so hurtful to me. And we need to talk about that. It's not denying anyone's feelings. I want to understand where you're coming from, but I also want you to understand how your words and your behavior hurt me. And I understand that your intentions are good, but the way we're going about it is unhealthy and toxic to me. So let's talk about that, and let's work on that. What did you mean? I heard what you said. What did you mean? What was your intent? What's your expectation out of that? Do you expect me to, you know, what's your outcome? What's your desired outcome from me? You know what I mean? Because I want to understand your thinking process so that I can understand you. Because maybe there's something that I can do to keep you from thinking that way, so you don't behave that way. Does that make sense? And
that makes a lot of sense.
That would be the same thing with me as well. If he's saying that I'm doing something, well, I didn't mean to disrespect you, but you felt disrespected. So I can't tell you that you shouldn't feel that way. I can tell you that it wasn't my intent to disrespect you. So what is it that I did? And let me find another way to get my point across to you in another way, so you don't feel disrespected. Because I love you, I don't want you to feel that way. And it would hurt me to hurt you. And as long as he knows that doesn't flame the fire. Do you understand what I'm saying? It kind of, it settles it out. Because people get real mad when they feel like, you know, you're disregarding their feelings. And people are easily offended sometimes, right? So the best way to diffuse that is, okay, I know he loves me, and I know that he's not going to hurt me on purpose. That's what he said. So if he's not hurting me on purpose, and I'm not hurting him on purpose, it's not my intent to hurt you because I love you. So then what different steps can we take? How can we change our actions to get our point across so that we both can feel validated and understood? Does that make sense?
Right. I think it's important that we definitely have to examine ourselves, because first, like you said, we have to love ourselves first. And we have to understand who we are, because that's the ultimate problem. You know, a lot of people don't even understand who they are. And, you know, like, not too long ago, I have a really good friend, and we got into a disagreement not too long ago. And when we got off the phone, I had to think back, and I thought about what she had went through and everything. And I was like, man, I think I was kind of insensitive, you know, to what happened. So I wound up calling her back, and I said, hey, listen, I'm sorry, you know, if I said something. She's like, no, everything was cool. If I had a problem, I'd have said something. And I said, okay, well, I just want to make sure, because I felt like I was insensitive. And I think when you grow into yourself and you start understanding yourself, you start realizing that friendships matter, relationships matter, how you are to people matter. what people receive from you matter.
Mm-hmm.
And, people don't really pay attention to those things. They just always, a lot of people just thinking about how you did me, but not looking at the opposite,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody has feelings. Everybody go through things. Everybody, want to be wanted and want to be respected,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
are they respecting the other person? Are they making the other person feel wanted? That is the hardest thing to get people to understand, especially when you're in a relationship and you both on opposite pages.
Right. I think, and there are so many people that rush into, wanting the title of a relationship, and they don't take the time to do the courting and the dating, that dating period is where you want to ask as many questions as possible. Something that I have a habit of doing, and I didn't always do that, but because I love me and it's the way I talk to myself, what do you want out of this opportunity? What do you expect to gain out of this opportunity? What do you expect to give to the opportunity that you get? What are you offering? Right? I would do the same thing in a relationship.
Right.
What do you want out of the relationship? What do you feel like you deserve? What do you feel you have to offer this relationship if we were to become, a couple?
Right.
What do you have valuable to bring? And this has nothing to do with any materialistic items. What can you bring with your full healed or working on your healed self? Because you don't have to be completely healed in order to get into a relationship, right?
Right.
And then what are your expectations? What do you want out of this? What does loving you feel like, right? Because then he can say, this is what I want. This is what I desire every day. These are the kind of conversations I want to come home to. This is the feeling that I want to get when I'm on vacation with my woman, like things like that. And she should be able to articulate that as well, so that they can see this is my lifestyle, right? Hence that lifestyle. My lifestyle, for example, my lifestyle is I like flowers because they make me happy all throughout my house. Something about smelling a good candle is everything. So a part of my lifestyle is always making sure that I have them. I like to eat at least once a week, and I allow myself to have a slice of cheesecake or whatever, maybe a churro or whatever. That is part of my lifestyle. A part of a lifestyle is when some work is completed to celebrate myself. Right. So just those few things, those are part of my lifestyle. And those are non-negotiables. Those are things that I show as love for myself, as an act of self-care. Right. And so I would want to know what someone else's lifestyle is. Right. So that we can see if we have any shared lifestyles, or if there's some things where, yeah, I can't do that. I don't think I can be a part of that. That's not how I would want to live. There are questions that need to be asked in the dating phase that people don't tend to ask because they just want to hurry up and be with somebody,
Yeah.
And one of the things that people, I recognize a lot of my clients have learned is during the pandemic, they had to be with themselves. They didn't really like it too much. Or they had to be in a relationship where they had to say, I'm actually in a relationship with this person. Now that they have to spend the time.
Right. Hey, COVID brought out a lot of things. It brought out some positive and some negative.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, Kiana, we are down to it. We are already done. Listen, we have to do a bigger set because the same thing happened on your show. It's never enough time. We can talk all day.
Yeah, we ran out of time.
How can people contact you? What's your social media outlet?
You can follow Life Matters Project or at Kiana Loves Me, because I want people to know that I love them. You can always go to LinkedIn or www.kianamonroe.com. You can check out all the podcasts. You can get the journal. And every month I do like a book journal club where I go on there and we discuss and we converse about the journey of self-love, right?
Right.
So that's where you can find all those good nuggets. In regards to things that have to deal with the children's books and the girls, go to www.prettytome.org. You can learn all you need on those two sites.
All right, and you heard it from Kiana Monroe. Thank you for coming on, man. I wish we could keep going. I'm sitting here like, oh, it's time to end the show already. I feel like we just started. This 1 hour just doesn't work for us. It just doesn't work. You are just, it's too much to talk about. But we got to do something else. But we will. We're gonna do something else. But thank you for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, Kiana Monroe. This is gonna end. I think we're gonna go on a hiatus for a little while. We're gonna take a summer break. This was my last show before that. I'm gonna miss you guys. You know, I love doing this show. I love being a platform for people to be able to speak and talk about themselves and talk about what they do and talk about their journeys. I love doing this. This was something that was offered to me, and I took it and I ran with it, and it has been a great thing. So I'm very blessed to be doing the Hollywood of the South. You know, so so on that note, Kiana, thank you for being a part of the show. This was a great way to end my before I go on my little summer break. And ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a whole new show again when I return. We got some new things cooking. I can't give it away right now. I was sworn to secrecy, but it's going to be awesome. So I look forward to presenting you guys with a new thing, with a whole new show when I return back in probably August. So God bless you all. Thank you, Kiana, again for coming on. And we are